I'm so excited about this one. I was actually just about to do a tweet here and see if anybody had any specific questions to
Love
ask
it.
you.
Yeah, go ahead. I actually I just listened to the last episode, which was awesome. What an impressive young lad.
Which
Garrett,
one?
right? It was
Garrett.
Garrett? Yeah.
Oh,
Super
he's a
impressive.
baller.
Man, it's so inspiring to see the wide range of people that are that are attacking the industry.
For sure. What is your handle? Oh yeah, there we go. So you go by Nick, right?
Yeah, Nick.
What's your full name?
My full name is Nikola.
Okay.
So my dad actually immigrated to Canada when he was 13, 14. So he grew up in Croatia. And so definitely have the blue collar genes in our family. That's for sure.
That's awesome. What's in this tweet right now? I want to do this like, hey, we're going live on the podcast episode, and then I'll keep it open in another tab, and then just see if anybody has like any specific questions.
Love that.
Dude, you've grown this business fast.
And it's
you are growing it fast.
Yeah, it's been crazy. Like, just a little bit of context. Obviously, I've been an entrepreneur for the last 13 years, and for the last maybe 6 or 7, had seen an opportunity in kind of blue collar spaces, thinking, a lot of these are under marketed and under operated from kind of a customer experience perspective. So it took a few kicks at the can on starting some things. This is maybe 6 or 7 years ago. My brother-in-law and I started a company called Art of Rock. It was a hardscaping company, backyard landscaping. He had done it for many years and had become quite talented at it. In a week and a half, we had about 180 grand worth of quotes closed from launch to 180 grand. It started out of the gates so hot, but then learned some things pretty quickly about that. Unfortunately, he wasn't able or ready to go full time, and just delivering the type of service and quality needed, it wouldn't be possible on a part-time basis. So learned really quickly, and fast forward 6 years, my childhood best buddy has been a business broker for maybe 4 or 5 years now. He came over to a partner's place, and we were all just shooting the shit a little bit, and he mentioned, I have this business you guys might be interested in. It's a little bit smaller, but I've been working with this owner. He's a great guy, and from what I see, the business has a lot of potential. It had only done, in its best year, 420, and it was really unique because the owner actually ran a landscaping company in parallel. So he would basically use the same crew, same machinery, and he'd flip-flop between basement waterproofing and backyard landscaping, which is really interesting, and it presented unique challenges for us because he relied on kind of that side of the business to keep the lights on a lot, and keep the crew of 4 working all the time. And what he also did was he shut down in November for 4 or 5 months until March. So it's one of these businesses where we were coming into it not knowing necessarily if the basement waterproofing could sustain the core four guys as much as both businesses did, and then second, having no idea what December through March would look like. So flying blind a little bit, but we met the owner, great dude, and took us about 50 days from meeting the owner to closing.
That's incredible. Okay, you mentioned you're an agency founder, right?
Yeah. So out of university is actually my first year of university. My dad eventually got into kind of the financial services world and estate planning, and that was always a potential path for me. But I kind of had the itch, at 19. I was like, I want to get started. He's like, no degree, no life experience, very hard to bring you into the financial world. When you're graduated, you'll have a place here. So I figured, okay, I want to find something to kind of get my feet wet a little bit. I was playing football at the time for the university that I attended. So that was about 40 hours a week plus school. But I just knew, I wanted to get something done. So with 3 buddies, we co-founded a video production agency. just literally out of my my buddy's or my partner's mom's basement. And you know, this was 2009, 2010 at the time. So video for business was super early. You know, we were still kind of the first few years convincing people why video is going to be an important part of kind of the marketing suite for all different types of businesses and organizations. And you know, sure enough, we were really, really onto something. So that business is still running to this day. I'm not operationally involved in the business on a day-to-day basis, but still have my co-founders in that business. They run it, and you know, we meet on a monthly, bi-monthly basis to kind of check in. But that's kind of where I cut my teeth.
Incredible. What's the name of that business?
It's called Waterbridge Creative. So it's been
Okay.
going since 2010. You know, we've worked with all different types of clients, government agencies, big banks. Done stuff for Burton, done stuff for all different types of businesses along the way. And you know, we ended up doing other things. You know, can you do video? Can you do websites? Can you do e-commerce? Can you do these things? And you know, over time, we learned quite a bit. We're in Ottawa, so that's actually where Shopify was founded. So, you know, for lack of a better term, we were pretty close to the mothership. So we got heavily involved in the e-commerce space for quite a few years there as well.
Wow. Incredible. Now, okay, so let's go back to, you buy this business.
Yep.
You closed in 50 days.
50 days.
You must have had some sort of conviction that I can go buy a business in the blue collar trades or services. And with what I've learned from entrepreneurship up to this point, I know I can grow this business. What was that conviction early on?
So it was two parts. One, my partner, awesome dude, been a good friend of mine for the better part of 7-8 years. He's a little bit older than I am. I'm 33. He's, I think, 38, 39. So just a little bit ahead, but a CPA by trade. So obviously a really talented individual, and he had kind of come from the startup world, had raised hundreds of millions of dollars, private equity, had managed funds, had done all kinds of, you know, pretty extensive due diligence that would make this due diligence seem, you know, really, really small by comparison. So he was kind of our secret weapon when it came to this. Now, we both learned that due diligence for small business is very different than due diligence for big business, right? Small businesses usually operate on SDE, seller discretionary earnings. So what that looks like, understanding what we can peel back, what will come back into our pocket, that kind of thing was a little bit unique for him. But, you know, based on his ability to really understand things, his due diligence capacity, his affinity with numbers, he was really, really well positioned to help do that. And then where I kind of filled the gaps was just on the marketing side, the operational side, the kind of human management side of things, the HR side of things. So together we formed this really, you know, unique team where he kind of takes care of a lot of the back office, commercial facilities, making sure all our equipment, inventory, all that kind of stuff. Whereas I'm a little bit more on the day-to-day. I deal with our employees on a day-to-day basis. I'm in contact with all of the customers, all the quotes, etc. So we balance out each other really well. And, you know, honestly, I would say after probably 30 days, we knew, okay, we're going to do this. We just need to iron out some semantics. And actually, we were supposed to do it at the 90-day mark. So we were supposed to close at the end of April, and we realized, shit, if we close at the end of April, we're going to miss what could be, you know, a really big month in our industry when the snow melts. So, you know, we asked the owner, hey, can we fast track this? We'd like to close at the end of March. And sure enough, he was more than willing. The business had been on the market for 2 years by the time he met us. So by this time, he was really motivated to sell, and he could tell we were really serious.
I remember reading the business was at like 420K of revenue, right?
Yeah, which included 50K of cash, which he took in the business. So to us, you know, it can be hard to account for, but in good faith, we credited him with that 50K. So it was really, you know, 370 plus the 15 cash. So 420 was his last year and also his best year.
Can you take us through the deal structure?
Absolutely. So We obviously didn't want to put a lot of money down. The more money down, the more risk. Another thing we knew is he was at a point where he was willing to shut down the business, and ready to shut it down. He had been on this, business sale rodeo, this tour for the better part of 2 years, and no one really too serious had come to him. So he was really, really motivated, and he could tell, okay, these are the guys that could take it somewhere. So how it ended up working is we put a little less than 10% down. So we put 25K down. We agreed on a 280K valuation, and he would finance the balance on what works out to being like a 42-month term. So we had a 6-month no payment, which is up now, obviously, and then we had 2 promissory notes, a 12-month and a 24-month. So it works out 6 months no payment, followed by a 12-month term at 8%. And a 24-month term at 8%. So effectively, we're paying for the business over about 3.5 years.
And when you say at 8%, that you're saying there's 8% interest tacked on.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Which, 3 years ago may have been expensive, but today actually feels pretty good.
Yeah. So you've got two different notes there. One 12-month for a specific set amount.
Yeah. And one 24-month after that. So for us, it made, complete sense, especially with our belief in our ability to grow the business. Okay, this owner is willing to finance a vast majority of it. We'll put the 25K down. Once we own the business, there's cash in the business. We're able to kind of pull that out. So we were able to actually pull that out 3 or 4 weeks after we acquired the business. So, effectively we're 0% down, but we have all the risk, of course.
Now you set it up in 2 different loans because of, I think I know why, but I'll ask you.
So I'm not confident enough to speak to the exact details on why my partner wanted to do it in 2 promissory notes, but I think he just wanted to break it up to keep it as simple as possible versus have kind of that extended one. And I think there's a 0.5% increase on the back end, if I'm not mistaken. But I know it's 6 months no payment, a 12 and a 24.
Is the first 12-month, is the way the amortization schedule is set up, that's a lower monthly payment for that?
It's actually cool. We do quarterly payments.
Okay.
So yeah, every quarter we cut him a big old check. And then what we also did was we offered him an opportunity to keep quoting for a percentage, like a sales percentage. He wants to keep busy, just doesn't want to be too involved. He's in his mid to late 70s. So,
Okay.
He wants to remove himself from the day-to-day, but he doesn't mind being on the road a couple days a week to keep moving.
All right. So we've got the deal structure in place. Now the fun part begins. I've been seeing your tweets. You're generating some revenue right out the gate. What the heck are you doing?
So honestly, the craziest part is, for us, learning the business has been definitely a curve, right? I kind of grew up working in the trades businesses in high school. I had a couple different landscaping jobs, and I would do, odd jobs, that kind of stuff. But I wouldn't consider myself a tradesman by any means, right? I'm on site with the team a couple times a month. A lot of my work is constantly calling clients and setting up calls and scheduling and doing all that kind of stuff. So for us, the big thing out of the gate was really we made 2 changes. One is we feverishly attacked the pipeline. We're answering within minutes, seconds sometimes. We're picking up the phone. We're seeing them for quotes really quickly, and we're turning around quotes really, really quickly. I had a client tell me last week she only got a reply from one of our competitors a week after we had already completed the job. So it took a competitor, 4.5 weeks to make the first reply, and we had already quoted one, completed, and received the review from that client. So, what we really, really did was just obsess over that pipeline. That's something that the old owner just didn't really do, is more so send off the quote. And if he hears from them again, great. If not, oh, they're not interested. And as you know, a lot of the times it really comes down to just making them more comfortable and helping them understand what it is the service entails and what it is you're doing for them. So that's what's really interesting for us, is that we're in a needs business. you got 2 inches of water in your basement, it's not necessarily perceived in the same way as a bathroom that you might want to get renoed, or a kitchen you might want to redo. We're very much in a space where people are stressed. There's added health risks when your basement is wet. It's just a compounding kind of stressful issue for these clients. So being in the need space was really big for us. The second thing we did was we started using Jobber literally out of the gate. We had Jobber on day one. It helped us create kind of that one source of truth. It helped inform our employees, right? Before us, they were kind of going off what they'd hear from the owner that morning at the yard, right? So this was a way to kind of keep our team informed of what's coming. It's not show up and figure it out today. They're informed well ahead of these projects. And in fact, as soon as they're closed, the team is informed of the project and all the details.
Did this business already have inbound leads?
So it had legacy. It was founded in 2008, right? So it was about a 16-year-old business when we bought it. Although when we bought it, there was nothing booked. So zero projects booked. Now, another thing that the old owner kind of neglected or didn't care about as much was the servicing aspect. So we offer a lifetime warranty on our services. Our system is SureProof. But in order to maintain that warranty, they need to service their sump pumps with us once a year, right? It's the only way that we can ensure that the system will be effective, because if it's the single point of failure and no one's serviced it, ultimately, someone's got to be liable for that. So that's one thing that the owner never really cared too much about, was kind of hunting down those servicing opportunities. So for us, that was another big thing, was going through literally the boxes of paper, right? Nothing was digitized. So we're going through boxes of paper. We're digitizing old clients, calling them, hey, we're digitizing our records. Can you remind us how many pumps you have? When's the last time you got serviced? All that. So it's been a bit of a slog to kind of, bring it into this decade, but it's been really, really good so far.
That is awesome. And like, I remember when my business partner and I bought our first business, like we did the same exact thing. We were like, this piece is so fun to just like get old records and be like, what sort of opportunities is this going to bring up? So my question for you on that service side, is that a recurring revenue stream right there for you guys?
It is. So right now we
Wow.
price them as one-offs, and that's something we want to work towards, is maybe getting our clients just on a subscription and make it a little bit more predictable. We just kind of amortize it on a monthly basis, but we charge $395 plus tax a year to service these pumps. And so the tricky part about them is our geographic area is kind of so wide and far that we'll sometimes go jobs 2 hours away. So it wouldn't make sense to go service a single pump 2 hours away. So we get into this, this kind of scheduling matrix where we have to kind of stack services in the same area on the same day, but also do that at a time where we're not busy taking on larger set projects, where our team is a little bit more occupied on kind of these, these large five-figure contracts and projects. So that part is really tricky, but I think over the next year or two, we'll get to a point where we have probably 150, 200 clients who are servicing with us on an annual basis.
That's so cool. The opportunities that are there, because
Massive.
you have a one-time the repair fee, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yep.
So you have, which is a larger ticket item.
Yeah, so it could be kind of one of three things is like our core work. So on the lower end, we have, we'll come in and we'll fix a wall crack or a number of wall cracks. That's kind of our, base fix. Then we have what's called an encapsulation. So that's using a wall wrap. It's an antimicrobial, antifungal wall wrap, where kind of wrap the basement kind of looks like something out of Dexter almost. It's literally all white, fully clean, fully dry. And then kind of our big system is our patented system, is like think of it as like a water, it's literally called Waterbridge system. It's we take the jackhammer, we core out maybe, if it's rock or stone, depending, it's how hard the boys will work. But we basically dig a trench, We drop our track in there. The track feeds to the pump discharges out of the house. And through the process that we're able to do it, it catches every single drop of water. We'll keep the basement 100% wet. And that's how we're able to fully warranty all of our work. So those are kind of, the three service level buckets, the full system obviously being, the larger fix, if you will. And that's based on a linear foot basis. The encapsulations are more on a square footage basis. And the wall cracks is just by crack.
What's an average ticket job size?
So if you look at my Twitter, I've been updating I've done 2 months of updates. I did April and I did May. And you'll see, I think 15 or 17 jobs in those months. Now, it brings down the average because I'm actually counting service jobs in that kind of average, which are only $400 tickets. But, our biggest job has been $70K. We've had a couple $50Ks. I would say average is probably around 15 to 20. That's something we'll be looking at once we kind of hit our 12-month mark, is just breaking down all the services, breaking down how many of this, how many of that, what's the average here, what's the average there. But I would suspect probably around 15 grand or so.
Nice. But definitely above 10K.
Oh yeah, definitely. And again, it looks lower on Twitter, but that's because you have a handful of jobs at 400 at least in each month. Whereas, last week we did a 2-day for 22 grand. Try and aim for around 7,500 a day is kind of our sweet spot.
And how big is your crew size?
4. So that was one of the biggest things for us, right? Is especially with the nuances of like, okay, we're shutting down the landscaping business. How are we going to keep these guys busy enough? These are the core guys who have been with the team. So our foreman's been with the old owner. He's a Scottish fellow, awesome man. He's been with the old owner since before he even founded this business. He's been around 16 plus years for this business. He's seen everything under the sun. He was our true key man. There's 3 other guys. 2 of them had been there over 8 years. And the last guy had been there for, I think, 1.5, 2. And he is the old owner's nephew. So there's an interesting part is the entire team is quite a bit older than me. So that was kind of an interesting dynamic coming into this is, understanding, okay, what motivates these guys and how we can do our best to retain them and create kind of that mutual respect there, right? Because again, I'm sometimes in the basements, but very rarely. I got to be answering calls. I got to be quotes. I got to be dealing with customer issues, suppliers, the whole thing. So I'm only able to be there every so often. And the old owner had long transitioned out of the jobs, but he was originally a part of these projects on the ground. So creating that mutual respect was really, really important. And, had to lean on any emotional intelligence that I had to, understand these guys and see what motivates them and, give them a space to vocalize how they feel. The old owner was definitely a my way or the highway kind of guy. And so I think giving them that space, within reason has been really good for our relationships. We gave everyone raises. We got them phones so they could, they could do everything on Jobber. We got our foreman a truck. We do a quarterly profit share with these 4 key guys. We want to incentivize them, a little bit of agency theory where we're all working towards the same goal. So we really flipped it on its head in terms of the relationship between the company and these employees and what they were used to. So I think they were really, really grateful for that. And had we not done that, I have a feeling we may have lost 1 or 2 just because there was a few, September, for example, been our worst month yet. That was a quieter month. So, we couldn't guarantee these guys hours at the time. And that kind of was a pivot point for us. Up until then, all 4 guys had been on hourly. And so at that point, we put 2 guys on salary. We locked them in. And then we've since locked the other 2 guys on a part-time salary, just so that they can continue to maintain hours regardless if we have a quiet week or not.
Can you share your profit bonus structure?
So we give 1.5, I think it's 2% to the foreman, 1.5 to 2 other guys, and 1 to the last guy. And this is on a quarterly basis. So again, we don't want to lose these guys. These are super key guys. This is really grueling work. It's hard, dusty, musty work. Sometimes you're literally on your knees or on your belly all day long. There's different issues that can occur, all different types of stuff. So it was really, really important for us to show these guys upside in a place where they weren't shown upside in the past, and many people aren't shown upside. And we really wanted to lock in these guys. And again, that was a key to helping us maintain them, because at times we had less hours for them, right? It wasn't like the landscaping and where every week was busy, packed to the brim. We had downtime, and we had to figure out how to kind of level that out for them. And the profit share definitely helped that, for sure.
That's great. Okay, so you attack the pipeline, you axe landscaping, you go all in on this foundation waterproofing. You've put up some big numbers recently, big months. Like, what have been the key drivers to that?
That is, first and foremost, I don't want to discount, there's a level of weather dependency to this business, right? It rains, we get calls every single time, no matter what. It's drier period, we'll get less calls. It's more frozen, we'll get a few less calls. So that's why certain times in the summer, or times like now where, even if they do have issues, they may not see it because everything's frozen. That can be difficult. So I don't want to discount the fact that last winter we had a record winter in our area from a snowfall perspective. It was an obscene amount of snow. So the melt was insane. That's one thing. Second, we did start Google AdWords and we got set up with LSA. So that's been really, really good to us. We spend about $1,000 a month, so it's nothing crazy, and we'll be transitioning that, I think, a little bit more into the organic side of things this coming year, because that's something I really, really want to focus on. And picked up some great tips from some of your past episodes that have been really awesome. And so really want to leverage organic SEO, but really it's been about $1,000 a month on Google AdWords, and just picking up the phone right away, like every time. Like if I see something come in, I'm calling them, texting them, emailing them, like literally within minutes. And they notice that. We went from 3 reviews when we bought the business, I think 3 or maybe 4, and we're at like 49 now. So I've been really, really aggressive on that. And if you read through our reviews, I get mentioned by name a lot. And a lot of the time it's like, I don't know how he answered so fast. One guy was like, I thought it was an auto reply. It was like 10:30 on a Monday. But like, if I see it come through, of course I'm going to answer, right? And I'll answer right away, because again, we're in the needs business, and people want to feel like they're being taken care of. And you don't answer for days, or in some cases weeks, they won't take you seriously.
It's so awesome. Like, whenever you get the, oh my gosh, that was fast, you're like, yeah, like we're professionals.
Literally, it's the best feeling, seeing reviews. I'm giddy for reviews. Like I love when a project went really well, and like, okay, now it's my time to like, go solicit this review and try and get the best out of this review, right? Because like, you can't write it yourself. You know what you'd hope they would say, and you can maybe, plant little seeds, but ultimately it's up to them to write it. And when I see, oh, the owner, Nick communicated so fast, or he replied within minutes, like it's numerous times now. And so like, that shows really well, especially when people see our reviews and then they contact us and they have the same experience. It just creates a consistency for prospects. And I think, I would be shocked if that wasn't helping us convert. We convert probably around, I'd say, close to 50% of our quotes.
Wow, that's incredible.
So far.
I mean, there you have it for those of you who are listening. I mean, take notes on what Nick is saying, because this stuff works. And in a world where people are either, I feel like it's like one of two things. Like right now, the successful businesses in my area, in most local markets, are held by people who are 60, 65, 70 years old. And they get work simply by word of mouth, because they have delivered a great service day in, day out. But oftentimes that owner is still in the field, and they don't get back to customers. right away. They have the mindset that like our team is busy. We have more work than we need right now. I'll call that customer whenever it's convenient for me. As a new business or as somebody taking over a business, if you just answer your phone quickly and get them a quote, it pays off. I mean, listen to what Nick's saying. He's closing 50% of these leads. The second thing that I see a lot in, and you've kind of come from, the tech world or video marketing world. You're familiar with the concept deep work, right?
Yep. Oh yeah.
So a lot of people have read that book, especially in tech or digital world. And a lot of people are putting their phone on like do not disturb, like getting in the zone, doing like deep sort of writing work or whatever that may be. But the reality is in this service business, somebody has to be quick on the phones. And so until you find that somebody to be as aggressive as you will be as the owner, and you and I share this belief. Like I'm filling this role in our business right now. When I have the Google My Business profile directed straight to my cell phone, when I get a call from an unknown number, I'm answering every single time.
In seconds, and actually my partner and I, same partner, have a couple Airbnbs in a ski town about an hour north of here, and we've done pretty well over the last few years, and super host, 5-star rating, over 100, like done really, these are luxury cottages, sleep 12 and 16. But it's part of kind of, what trained me for is because when you're a host, there's no like getting back in a couple hours. If that happens, they've already booked elsewhere. And if they're staying with you and it takes you a couple hours to reply, that's not good. The likelihood is they're asking you about something or they have an issue. And if you're not quick as hell, you've lost them, right? And all of a sudden you're at risk. In that world, the reviews are even more pertinent to success because a 4-star can crush a listing almost single-handedly. So that part was big in training. And I do a lot of the marketing work, write some of the blogs, I direct a lot of it. But if I was to deep work for 2-3 hours and someone contacted me in the first minute, I'm now replying 3 hours later than I would have otherwise. So hearing that ping, it's like, okay, I got to get after this. No matter what I'm doing, that comes first, because then the client feels taken care of.
Man, it's so awesome. I resonate so much with your thought process and your value. And I know you've been kind of following my journey too and engaging and whatnot. And you know that I'm the guy, I'm more of the start from the ground up opportunity. But I see you as someone who shares that same start from the ground up mentality, even though you bought a business that was already existing, it had a crew in place. And so, man, I have so much respect for the approach you're taking to this. What are your goals with the business? Where do you want to take it?
That's a great question, Austin. So, first and foremost, having a lot of fun. I definitely am a build from the ground up person. I have a few successes and many failures in all different types of businesses, and they've all been from the ground up. And so I've learned a ton at kind of from, sticking the shovel in the ground, with the first stroke, if you will. So this one has definitely been different, although my past life has brought a ton of advantages to understanding, how to build and grow this business. So for us, I think, growth is inevitable. It's just how much can we grow and how quickly can we grow, and how can we, maintain employee happiness, and then beyond that, scale past this current crew. So this current crew, if we added, a fifth guy, we suspect we could do probably 1.5 to 1.7 with that single crew. So that's really, really powerful. We have some room to grow there, probably 30% or so after we finish this first 12 months, we'll probably break $1 million, and, we'll be another 50% growth. We can get there and maintain it with the crew. After that is when we'll need to kind of, add that second crew. So as I'm sure these phases of growth come with different challenges and different burdens and different types of commitments. So I think for us, next step is, that 1.5, 1.7 milestone, and then understanding, okay, what's it going to take to go to 3.5, 4, like double the business again after 4 or 5 Xing it, right? What's it going to take to double it? financially, emotionally, time commitment wise, what that scaling actually looks like, and understanding, okay, here's how we go from 1.4 to 3 or to 4. But at 1.4, 1.7, we're doing pretty well for ourselves. And, we found a good sweet spot. So that's really the next goal, is to hit kind of those numbers. And we think we can get there.
What do you think some of the biggest challenges are? I know you mentioned that like each phase of growth presents its different challenges. Like what right now are the main challenges?
Oh, that's a great question. So there are always little things that come up. For example, right now we have a Freightliner and an International and a Cube van. So you have 3 vehicles with the company. The International and the Freightliner were purchased to be kind of hybrid vehicles between the two companies, the landscaping and the basement waterproofing. So technically they're kind of overkill. And the issue is they're over the 4,500 kilogram weight limit. So in Ontario, it's definitely in Canada, if not only in Ontario, which is our state, but it's something called CVOR, basically a special license when you're working with a vehicle as heavy as these. And the issue is it has to be the owner who has the license, and there's all types of like maintenance requirements and keeping up. So it's like our foreman couldn't even be the one to do it. I'm not ever driving the actual vehicle. So it creates this like disconnect in the situation where, do we really need these vehicles when we could have something under that 4,500 kilo weight, do exactly what we needed to do, and not worry about, the CVOR license. So that's kind of an interesting random challenge that's come up to us, is okay, sell these vehicles, buy something else, and continue to push forward. But, our biggest challenges is just to increase lead flow. I think that's a really big one, especially during down months. Again, these were months that the company was completely dormant. So there's no historical anything from these months. We're just kind of figuring it out for the first time. And B, just continue to make sure our employees are happy. Continue to have those open lines of communication. Like this morning my partner and I had a great breakfast with our foreman, caught up. We're 9.5 months in. Where do you think? Where can we improve? Where can we continue to support you? Are you happy? Where do you need help? What needs changing? All these things. And so this is an audience that he maybe didn't have in the former regime. And I think he's really appreciating that. You can tell he's a company man. He cares about the company, he cares about the profits. He puts the company first. So those would be the 2 biggest things: increasing lead flow, which will come with good marketing, and making sure we keep the employees happy. If we can do those 2 things, 1.5 is very, very achievable, because got to remember, these projects are for the most part in and out, right? Our longest was 7 days, but usually they're 2, 3, maybe 4 days. We've had a couple 5-day jobs. So by nature, get in, do the work, get out. So it's very, very efficient in that way. It's just about having the right amount of lead flow, closing the right amount of deals, and making sure that these quieter months, December, January, February, March, are able to not only help us break even, but put us in the profit zone and start to push up on some of those, middle of the pack months, if you will.
How do you do that? Do you push harder on and stay focused on foundation waterproofing, or do you consider adding an off-season type service?
So definitely for us, we're going to continue pushing on the waterproofing. And the foundation repair. One of the kind of maybe unique aspects about us is we actually only do our work from the inside. So a lot of our competitors are exterior foundation repair, which is much harder to do in the winter up here. Like today it's minus 30 Celsius and there's snow on the ground. Like nothing's moving, right? You're not digging too efficiently here. So we could actually work through the winter, which is really great. Now, not to say the winter doesn't affect us, right? Materials get harder. The stone kind of clumps up and is rock hard. The guys have to be in and out of the property all the time, running to the truck, getting demo, getting new materials, the whole thing, right? So it makes it more difficult, but it's completely doable. And so for us, we're definitely going to focus more, or continue to focus on the basement waterproofing foundation repair, but we do want to expand our services a little. We want to understand what it would look like to do exterior work at some point, right? Some prospects come to us and they have it convinced in their mind that no, exterior is the only way this will be fixed, or the only way I'll assure that I'll never get a drop in my basement is by doing the exterior work, which is not actually the case, but you just can't convince them otherwise. And so in those situations, we would be able to say, okay, well, interior solution X, exterior solution Y. But there are different services like radon gas mitigation, this type of stuff that we want to start to kind of, introduce into our service line and expand a little bit more. And the last thing is that the old owner never cared about kind of remediation. So when we come into a finished basement, we have to do a lot of demo, right, to install our system. And the old owner was just, okay, we'll do the demo, we'll install our system. Then, by the way, you'll need to find a contractor to come in and, put your framing back up and get the drywall and the insulation going. And now we've started to offer that. Our second in command is an experienced carpenter, the old owner's nephew, super experienced carpenter, awesome guy, used to run his own business, so just gets it. And now we can kind of become that one-stop shop for clients and say, hey, we'll install our system, but then also we can remediate for you. You don't have to go find another contractor. You don't have to go find another quote. You don't have to go through that whole process. Our guys will just wait the extra day while the cement dries, and then we'll be in there the next day to, the next day or multi-days to finish up the basement.
Yeah, that's great. What is the difference in a slow month and a like? Can you give us examples of your numbers from your slowest month to your best month of the year?
So May was our best, and that was in the 170s. I think it was 170. I just posted about it. I think it was 177. That was our best month so far, and our worst was September, which was 35K. So based on standards of the past, the 35K is still solid, but for us, it's not a break even point. Our burn is probably around 40 or so, maybe a little bit more. It fluctuates depending on what we're doing for marketing and one-time cost versus ongoing cost, etc. So that fluctuated quite a bit, although the kicker was in August. Up until August, the old owner had been doing pretty much 100% of the quotes. We would send guys with him to learn. We have another quoter now, and we would make sure that our foreman goes with him to learn because obviously, he was ready to transition out. But in August, he had a medical issue where he just kind of stopped quoting but didn't tell us. So for 2 or 3 weeks, we kind of were a little bit, in the dark, if you will, and that played a major role in our slowdown and our ability to close. We've since kind of shored that up. He hasn't even quoted since then. And as I mentioned earlier, it may do a couple days in the spring, but that transition period really, really hurt us, but it was a bit of a blessing in disguise, made us stronger for sure.
Where is the next strategic investment? Like the most pressing? Is it vehicles? Is it personnel? Is it new crew? Is it specific service technician?
Great question. And I'm laughing a little because, my partner and I had this conversation this morning. I don't even want to call it a debate. We're both super passionate guys. And we had this conversation this morning about where we need to kind of the phone's going to be, ringing off the hook. But until that time comes, we're kind of flying blind a little bit. So we want to make sure that where we're investing, it's very strategic. In my opinion, it's 100% in organic SEO. That's a huge opportunity for us. I look at our competitors locally, and I look at their sites, and I know the type of business they're doing. They have numerous trucks, numerous crews, so I can do basic math at least, and they're doing very well from a numbers perspective. But they're marketing, their online presence, the whole thing is just stuck in the early to mid 2000s. I mean, you know how it is. You look at competitors and you can kind of tell, what decade they last took a good look at their marketing, especially, coming from the marketing world. So it's really interesting to see how they've been able to be as successful as they are with the marketing that they have. Mind you, I'm sure they have great systems, and obviously they've been around a really long time, but so have we, and so do we. And so organic SEO is going to be absolutely huge for us, and I'm just kind of a squeaky wheel with my partner and a broken record to some degree. And he's awesome. He's so good at making sure we're spending wisely and we have enough in the bank account, and he's cash flow conscious, and he really balances me out that way. So we find that sweet spot between us. But I know for a fact that organic SEO 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months after we start is going to create a lead pipeline that will be absolutely astronomical.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to be like a rather small invest, 10 to 25 grand over the whole
year, right?
Yeah.
And we're talking tickets of 15, 20 grand, right? So like a single project that wouldn't have otherwise come is going to pay for a whole year's worth of organic SEO. And we rank incredibly terribly, despite having our domain for 16 years. Like our domain authority is like 6, and we're like way down the list on maps, and nowhere near the first page. And that's still kind of a primary source of leads for us. So I know when we get up to that kind of upper echelon of rankings, the leads are just going to flow like absolute crazy. And we got to be ready for that, and that will be a challenge, just quoting all these leads, because of how wide our area is. We could be driving 4 hours a day for leads, plus behind the wheel. We'll go as far as 2, maybe a little more than 2 hours. When that happens, we have to put the guys up in an Airbnb, etc. So we have to be really conscious of that. But yeah, SEO, organic SEO all the way. And big part of that has been your episodes, man. They've been awesome, and there've been a few guests who have really kind of hammered that home. And I always knew that, and I always saw it as an opportunity. It's the part of the undermarketed aspect of some of these businesses, right? They don't understand SEO. They don't understand organic SEO, and it's hard to tell them, hey, you're going to be investing for 3 to 6 months before you really see any returns. That part usually kind of, blows the top off from what I've seen. But I know how powerful it can be, especially when the competitors aren't doing it properly.
100%. And you and I share that same mindset. I mean, I look at it the same way. Like, you can spend about $12,000 to go all in on it this year. Or if you really want to ramp it up, spend double that. And, at the top end, you're looking at 24, 25 grand. And whenever you can say, okay, like that could literally be recouped with several jobs.
Like easily, especially with the type of job. I mean, our highest job so far is 70 grand. So like that pay, if that's a job that comes in from organic, that pays for numerous years of service, right? And as you know, organic's kind of the gift that keeps on giving, because it compounds. You don't have to necessarily pay for every click and every single lead that comes out. In an ideal world, we would have a small sprinkle of Google ads and just be hammering organic. We did do some radio as well. It was a legacy contract the old owner had. It's really interesting, maybe $1,500 a month. We've since paused it, but we're debating if we bring it back on or not. Reason being, the towns we're doing radios in are like small towns, not big places where people are cruising with their Spotify, where the radio station is on in the hardware store and in the grocery store, and on 90% of vehicles people are listening to the radio. So yeah, really interesting.
Cool. Well, I actually just checked X. I still have a tough time calling it X. Like, it still wants to come out as Twitter.
I still call it Twitter, unfortunately, for that.
All right, so I just checked the tweet I did, and looks like Casey asked, when growing fast, do you focus on hiring more staff and then filling up the work to meet that supply, or do you build up the demand and follow by hiring staff to fulfill it? So this came at the exact time of the conversation of what we're having real time. So what's your answer to that?
So, I mean, great question. For us, because we have the capacity with our current team, it's all about filling that current team out. I think we would get to a point when we hit kind of that 1.5, 1.7, which is where we anticipate kind of our where we start to stretch it a little bit. Once we do that, I think is when we would start to look at, okay, what does filling another team look like, right? Understanding, okay, how are we going to shuffle the vehicles? Who's going to be that second foreman? It would be our second in command. We already know that, but now we're kind of splitting the crew. And do we send one of the old crew? Is it 2 guys and 2 guys, and then both crews are filled with 2 new guys, right, to kind of split the experience across the crews. So these are questions we're already asking ourselves and understanding and trying to get to a place where we have a firm belief when that time comes. But because we have so much capacity with our team, we just want to book up as much as humanly possible to get to that revenue stretch point where we're in consideration. We're in a really unique business, at least so far, where like all of our business is booked like 3 weeks out. We're like, we haven't had a huge, I think our longest lead time was like 12 days. At one point we had 12 or 13 of the next days booked out completely. It's quick shuffle and people make their decisions yes or no, usually fairly quickly. So my hope is when we get there, we can, book out a couple months in advance and then have that kind of that comfort or that base layer of saying, okay, we can hire another 2 guys full time because look, we're booked out for 3 months and we know we're going to continue to drive the revenue. It's a little bit riskier when, we're selling a job for 2 weeks from now today.
But I wanted to ask, like, whenever you go to build up your crew, how are you going to recruit staff?
So funny enough, and I don't know if it's the economy or the marketing or a bit of both, but we receive quite a bit of inbound for work. Probably like 3 to 4 individuals a month reach out, send resume, hey, looking for work. Now, I don't yet know what that kind of conversion looks like for us. We haven't been through a hiring cycle, right? And it's really hard work. It's really grueling work. It's long hours. It's messy. It's dirty. So my guess is not everyone would necessarily stick around or be reliable enough. But with that being said, we do get a lot of inbound. So a lot of opportunities to test people. And we have a couple of young guys that we've called on, like 17, 18, 19-year-olds. Our yards in the country. So there's a lot of kind of, blue collar, hardworking individuals. And these kids have been great. They can't drive yet, but they've been great kind of, fifth individuals to the crew. So we'd open it up on the regular stuff like Indeed. I would hammer the Facebook job boards, find a contractor, these types of groups that are kind of in the different cities and areas that we belong to or that we service, I should say, and then network. A bunch of friends are in the space. And so just having these conversations, I don't anticipate it being easy, but I think we'll be able to make it happen when that time comes. And we're probably about, I'd say, a good 6 months from being there, realistically.
Man, I'm excited to watch you grow this thing. I think you're going to have people reaching out to you left and right. And the reason being is because you and I share a core belief in the sense that, like, dude, I don't want to just create a business for the sake of creating a business. Like, what drives me a lot is creating a business where people want to come to work and want to work on a team together, and we're all motivated towards one goal. And I think that starts to show over time. And the reason why I can speak to that is because we've gotten several calls recently from other people who have worked for other businesses. Hey, I've seen you guys, I've heard about you guys, I like what you guys are doing, whether it be, interacting with them through other contractors or general contractors or rental companies, whatever it may be. I think just like showing the level of professionalism and the fact that like the team members are taken care of, other people naturally just want to be a part of something like that. And so, man, I'm excited for you. I really do believe that y'all got something really good going. Because one, you're so committed to delivering that level of 5-star service. It's like when a customer calls, you're calling them within seconds. And I think those sorts of little details translate down into the team, right? It's like if they see you filling up the pipeline like you're filling, it's like, holy crap, Nick's hustling, And then so I think that drives like more energy from the field side too.
Definitely.
I was just gonna wrap it up with like, and then when the energy is high in the field side and people are excited about work, then other people see that and other people want to come and be a part of that too.
100%. Yeah. And I can see it, my foreman, Steve, he's awesome lad. But he always makes joke like, holy shit, you're, in a Scottish accent, you're fast, because it's like he's calling and it's not even one ring and I'm answering, what's up, partner, what do you need, how can I help, and I think that's really important, because I'm not in the field on a day-to-day basis, and it's important for them to see that I'm always accessible to them, day or night, no matter what day of week it is, always accessible, really reasonable, making sure that they're taken care of, checking in, how's the family, having these conversations, I think are really, really important to kind of, show them that I may not be in the basements with you every single day, but I'm in the trenches with you every single day. I'm driving this every single day. I'm making the calls, having the conversations, doing the marketing things. And, I share the reviews with them, which they love to see, because oftentimes it'll mention them, their great work, their politeness, their professionalism. And it shows, look, guys, we, for 16 years, we had 3 or 4 reviews, and, in 9 months, we now have 49 or 50 of them. Right. And they understand that takes work. And so sharing with them what it takes on the back end has been, I think, really enlightening for me, but also for them to understand that, this thing it doesn't run itself. And, the quote unquote passive ownership that, that really doesn't exist. Not if you want to grow the business or make anything substantial of it,
Yeah. And it's just no fun either. Like, I think the 4-hour work week just completely ruined a whole generation of very could-be talented entrepreneurs. And, it's funny. It's like, and I've talked about this on the podcast before, but the people who have achieved the 4-hour work week status early on in life, like in their 30s or, especially late 20s, it's like the people have openly shared, like, it's led to depression, right? There's like nothing to wake up for. And yeah, I just think like being an owner, like, it's way more fun to just be in the business and like with the crew, working with a team on growing something together.
Well, because you see the cause and effect, right? The things that you do have an impact, whether it's short-term, medium-term, or long-term. At some point downstream, good and bad, the things you do for the business have an effect on it, right? And there's a tangibility to it. And you're right, man. Like, I love golf. I probably play maybe 30 or 40, rounds a year. My partner's a big golfer. And so we'll get out 6:30 in the morning and we'll start our meeting on the golf course. We have our conversations, then we head back and kind of, get things on paper, if you will. Absolutely love golf. But if you told me you could retire with whatever money you want right now, but you can never work again and you got to golf every single day, I would get bored. There's a part of the chase, I think, that's really important. You see it with folks who are retired. They, unfortunately, after you retire, your health and wellness seemingly starts to go downhill a little bit. And I think that, this type of work has a purpose, for sure.
For sure. And it's absolutely necessary and it's needed. And it feels really good when you deliver a great product or a great service to a customer who actually needs your service.
It really, really does, especially in our field too, right? When it's such a need and it's such a concern, for people. And when we come in, we give them the confidence and we solve their issues, they're just so happy. I tell friends and family and people around me, oh, we acquired a basement waterproofing foundation repair company. And the looks I get are like, it's not sexy, man. There's like a bit of confusion, a bit of kind of, oh, cool, congrats. They don't fully necessarily always understand it. Some people who are closer to me kind of get a little bit more of a look under the hood, but kind of the acquaintances in the circles, like, there's a weird fit here. Like, aren't you a marketer? Like, what's going on? But for us on the day-to-day, we're just always hustling, always grinding, always looking to grow the business and kind of, take a new approach to it.
Yeah, I can feel you on that too. I've definitely gotten the weird looks. Like, so are you a logger now or what? And
well,
it's just
the
fun.
last episode, you were mentioning a little bit how you and your wife are grinding it out and building things, etc. And it's just, it's that kind of stuff that it's the pilot light that keeps us going, jumping out of bed every morning at 6 a.m, and that's another thing. Before this, I can kind of wake up whenever, sleep until 7:30, 8, no problem. Well, can't do that. If my boys are up at 6 in the yard at 6:30, I got to be like, if I'm not there with them, it's got to be a one ring pickup no matter what, no matter every day. So wake up at 5:45, get ready, hit the gym, bring my phone with me. They call, I pick up any time of day, and that makes a difference. Can be taxing, as I'm sure that has difficulties on relationships if you're kind of always on call, but finding that balance, I think, is really important, and making sure the people around you understand why this motivates you and why this is so important to you, and kind of letting them in on it a little bit, I think has been really helpful for me from a personal relationship perspective.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm so excited that you joined us for an episode on the Owner Operator Podcast, Nick. Your values and your approach to this it's pretty cool to see. And I'm so glad that we just get to share this with our listeners, because, man, this is the message and the reason why I started the podcast. It's like, once you accept the fact that you do like work can be enjoyable, and also like growing the business and being inside the business can be fun. At least for me, like, that's when things start to get a lot better. Just from a numbers perspective, right? And I think you can say the same thing with your recent results.
Definitely. I just want to thank you, man. Like, I love your podcast. It's the first time in a really long time where on a weekly basis, I'm like getting excited for the new episodes, pretty much listening right away, if not within the first 24 hours. And it's really great to see that there's, a community of us doing similar things in different verticals under kind of this home services umbrella, but all coming at it from, different points of view and different life experiences and different, past careers, if you will. So, makes me feel less alone for sure. And, the community you're building is special. And I love your content, man. I love everything you share. The guests you have on are awesome. And I think what you're building here is really, really special. I appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk to you about it, and hopefully come on in some time and we can talk about each other's growth.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for the kind words. And let's have you back on in a year or so and see where Wet Basement Solutions is at that point.
Love it. Yeah, man. Would love to be on, and really appreciate you, man. Thanks again.
Cool. Well, listeners, thanks for listening to another episode of the Owner Operator Podcast. I'm your host, Austin Gray, and this is Nick with Wet Basement Solutions. If you haven't checked out any of the other episodes, make sure to go back and check out the last one. We had Garrett Williams from Minnesota, GM Outdoor Services. He's a 23-year-old, just grew the business year over year. And I think this year they were right at 5 million in revenue. So check him out on YouTube. I've learned a lot from building my excavation land clearing business from him. But once again, Nick, thanks for being on the Owner Operator Podcast. Appreciate you being here, and we'll chat soon.
Looking forward to it, Austin. Thanks again, man.